Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Epidose of I don't know what's going on, but we eat a lot of meat and nothing else. And my name is Tom, and I've got some of the usual suspects with me today. And today's topic, oddly enough, is odor. So odor might take many shapes and many forms and come from many places, but we're probably talking about things like body odor, bad breath, flatulence, and the ever legendary but probably extremely mythical keto crotch. And we're also going to try and cover some challenges with adopting the carnivore diet. So, anyways, who wants to get us started off? Who was it that noticed the first change in odor?
Yeah, I did, but odor's a long story because when I was on keto, I had that keto breath. I mean, it was something serious. I had to peppermint spray my mouth all the time. And as far as body odor, it was kind of sort of the same stinky odor after the gym, noticeable enough where my kids stayed away from me when, I'd come home after a workout. My wife was like, "Ooh, no, you stink, get away from me." So I had that a lot. Now, fast forward a little bit to Carnivore, though. So within the 3 months or so of Carnivore, I started noticing no odor. So I would play around, because I used to grab my kids when they make fun of me. I used to grab them and make them smell my armpit. It's always kind of the fun thing to do as a dad, you know. And then so I started realizing I can't do that anymore. It doesn't affect them any. They're like, "Ew, you're sweaty. Ew, you're sweaty, but you're not stinky." I'm like, "Oh, wow. I guess I'm not." And that's what really made me notice that. So, back then I, took normal showers, use soap and shampoo. Never had any smell, regardless of whether the shampoo fragrance was. I didn't smell any. Just it was neutral. It was always neutral. So I decided September of last year. I decided to go no shampoo and no soap. And believe it or not, and I'll test it. So I do jujitsu, I do karate. So we're talking about I do also intense exercise, and I'll come back home and nobody notices. And so they're my litmus test. So I haven't had an issue of odor whatsoever, and my skin's always extremely smooth, like I just took a shower almost all the time. It's the craziest thing. So yeah, odor's all gone. I don't know if I'll ever go back to using soap and shampoo anymore. Just my
You don't
experience.
use you don't use any soap or shampoo when you shower?
That's
now?
right.
Just,
None.
you still
Oh,
do the
I do wash my hands. I do wash my hands with soap. That's about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do cold showers only. Yes. So I thought that was amazing. So and it started making me think. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in the wild, like deer hunters, they said that for some reason deers have really good noses that they can spot. So you have to be at a certain wind point so they don't smell you, or else they'll run off. And I was thinking, well, what if this was actually an advantage of we evolved not to actually smell bad if we ate the proper diet so that we can hunt better. And now, again, this is all theoretical, but I feel like that's why I'm not smelling. This is an advantage for hunters. I don't know
I
what you guys
wonder
think.
do you think the cold showers have anything to do with it?
That's a good question. I didn't do cold showers early on in Carnivore, and I did stop smelling less and less. So now I do have to admit, when my smell stopped, where I stopped smelling all the way, I do have cold shower in place, and I do eat a lot more raw meat. So I don't know if they're related. And it could be. So sorry, I didn't exactly do it as a science, too good of a science test on that one. But that's what I've noticed. Something to look forward to, guys.
Yeah, so this is Justin, and just to put it back a little bit, if you guys remember, tuned in from last week, I ate a raw steak for the first time, and I'm still here. I had no bowel issues, no issues whatsoever after doing that raw steak and the gulp of heavy cream last week. I was totally fine, and I slept pretty well. I've heard that's pretty good on raw. And then also I went to the gym the next morning, and I had a little bit of leftover raw steak, so I decided to eat that, and I killed it in the gym. Like, I've had so much energy. So I'm even thinking about doing like raw meat or raw steak before the gym, because it's just so light, and I feel like it just goes straight in, like, protein straight into the muscles. You're just able to just kill it. So I don't know, something I think about trying. So yeah, raw steak, I give it a thumbs up. I do still, as far as flavor, prefer my steaks to be cooked just because of flavor. But if I don't have the time, or maybe the gym, or like maybe a little extra energy boost, or I've heard it's good for sleep, maybe I'll start turning to raw steak. And another thing, if you notice, I'm in a different location. I'm reporting live from Tom's living room. We just had some delicious ribs. They came out a little charred. That's why I got a little bit of black, on my face. Don't put those two words together. That's not what I said, and that's not what I'm doing. But yeah, they were delicious. Thank you, Tom. But yeah, about the whole skin thing. So I've been thinking about it, and something I noticed with myself is that when I shave now, I get less cuts. And I think it's because the skin is more moisturized and not as tense and dry. So that's one thing I've definitely noticed. In the summer, I wasn't as shower obsessed as I normally am in the summer, because here I'm in Southern California, and yeah, I get it. We don't have the humidity of Texas or Missouri or Kansas, but it starts to get a bit humid here. August, we're looking at 110 temperatures sometimes. I live on the second floor, so I'm looking at 120, in my room, sweltering away. And, I was able to get up the next day and not feel like I needed a shower every day, honestly. And I kind of feel that way. I bought some baby wipes recently, because I'm like, if I want to get like an extra hour of sleep or something, I can just like baby wipe, the bits, what's important, just in case you run into that beauty on the street, you never know. Love can strike anytime, right? And so, yeah, I might be doing that every other day. I don't know if that'll save me any money. I'm thinking at a financial standpoint. I wish I could be like you, Raymond. Maybe, I don't know. I don't have the guts yet. I'm single. You know what I mean? I gotta think about that. Gotta think about the ladies. Your lady's used to you. She's stuck with you. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter how you smell, But me, man, that first date, I can't be having no rank,
Oh no, she won't sleep with me if I smell. So the other thing, I don't wear deodorant. I forgot to add that. So I don't have any external needs whatsoever. No baking soda either, because that's what I used to do before. But that's awesome, Dustin. Yeah, don't worry. Later on, you never know. You might want to experiment with it, But you need a litmus test. Who would be your litmus test? Who would tell you, honestly, how you smell? That's what you need to know. There you go. You can go to Tom's house.
Uncle Tom.
Yeah. Put him in a headlock. Put him in a headlock.
I'd be happy to tell him.
You can douse yourself with some. You can douse yourself with some pheromones.
There you
do
go.
that too.
That's it. Yeah.
Little
Get some
muskrat love.
pheromones from Tom. There you go.
And
So Raymond,
I was just gonna say, and about the smell with the hunters. So I guess my brother was telling me about ninjas. That ninjas had a certain diet where they couldn't eat a bunch of things, so that they could be, more stealthy. So I think you definitely are onto something.
Wow. No, I had no idea. That's great. Great to know.
Definitely cut out the garlic. Maybe
Yeah.
the onions.
So I was the type that did a lot of garlic and onions back in the past. And let me tell you,
I hated
would
people like you at
smell
the gym.
Yes, thank you. People would smell me like, and you could see them just kind of staying away from me. So I know what it's like to have BO for sure. Yeah.
Well, Zimbo, you got anything to add?
yeah, look, I've noticed as well. Look, I still do use deodorant just as a precaution, and it gets quite hot here in Sydney and working in a kitchen. But yeah, definitely don't smell as much as before. Not saying that it's smelt before, but yeah, it's not as you don't have that wet dog smell, especially when you've gone after a bike ride or a been working in the hot kitchen. So Definitely noticed a difference.
Have you noticed anything, Buffalo Joe?
Well, I'm only 3 months into carnivores, so I suspect that long term there's probably a cleaner effect over time. But
Let's talk about your farting. How about that?
all
How's that
right,
gone?
all right, go ahead and put me on the spot. I farted today. Okay? I had 2 pounds of venison yesterday, and I have to admit, man, I passed a good one today. My wife is not happy.
You're not happy. Was it a stinky one?
It was good. It was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
It's okay. I'll be honest.
So-
Today I actually farted too. It kind of surprised me. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Because, you know, I don't fart too often. So when I do, I'm like, wow. And you kind of cherish it because you're like, ooh, that was a good one. Because, you know, it's been a while since I've had a good one, actually.
So
Today was
far
a
in
good
between.
one.
I guess that's a good takeaway message is that, you know, when you go on a carnivore diet, you have little or no gas. You know, it's crazy. You spent your whole life like being worried about it, you know, like, oh man, this is not the right place. And then you go on carnivore, you're like, wow. So there's life with little to no gas. Amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you know, interesting point here about this. Did you eat a different kind of meat yesterday or today that led to
Yeah,
that? 'Cause
spices. Yeah, I had
there you
spices.
go. Yeah. See, for me, it was, I've been eating beef all week. And then yesterday I had venison and I had a lot of it. And it was a change from what I was eating that whole week.
Interesting.
So that might have something to do with your gut microbiome and you know what you've been accustomed to for a week.
Yeah, no, I agree. I noticed it because I'm putting this thing called butt rub. My wife likes it on the steak, so I've been eating that. Hey, we're talking about farts. Might as well talk about butts, right? So it's a seasoning for pig butt, you know.
Finger looking good, man.
Yeah. Finger looking good. That's right.
Actually, Joe, I've noticed that when I have chicken, I find that I'm a little bit gassy. But if I'm predominantly on beef, yeah, nothing. Like even my wife's surprised. She goes, "Oh, you know, you don't rip them anymore like you used to." So
It's quite a compliment.
Now I record it when I rip one. Oh, there you go, just as a reminder. Just kidding.
Well, I'm going to throw this conversation down a little rabbit hole here because I think I mentioned before that I was reading this paper. It was talking about how Candida, usually Candida albicans, causes a lot of human, what do you call it, yeast infections. And then streptococcus tend to cohabitate in your mouth, and they tend to help each other break down starches in particular because they like carbohydrates, and together they can break down complex starches, and they thrive on that, right? And that might be when we go low carb or no carb, they don't thrive anymore, and so we get sick less, right? We don't get yeast infections, we don't get sore throat or strep throat is easy. Because I know a lot of us have told the story that since we went on all meat diet, a carnivore diet, that we don't seem to get sick anymore. But I was looking up this whole thing about body odor, and it turns out that the bacteria that's primarily responsible for general body odor is Staphylococcus hominis. So Staphylococcus, of course, from staph. Staphylococcus hominis is a common bacteria that lives on the skin of hominids or human beings. So one might wonder if that bacteria also flourishes more on a different diet. And I notice far less body odor too. Like I am too self-conscious to stop using deodorant, but when I was on the PKD diet, they recommended I stop using deodorant. And I was being very careful what kind of soap I use. I use a tallow-based soap. But I was like, well, I'll just carry extra shirts around with me or something, because usually if I'm going to start stinking, it's usually the armpits, right? So I just throw on a different shirt and maybe hit the pits with the handy wipe or something like that, you know? And I noticed, I was like, man, I just don't smell as much. Even on the PKD diet, was really high fat, and I was eating liver and brains and stuff like that. I noticed it too. And then so as this subject came up, and people were saying, "Oh yeah, I don't have body odor anymore." I would start checking my shirts. It's like, oh, I'm gonna wash these shirts, and they've been sitting here for a day or two in the hamper. And I smell them, like I can't detect it. I can smell my deodorant a little bit, because I still put deodorant on. But I noticed a drastic reduction in body odor, and every once in a while I get really sweaty at the gym or something, and maybe like if it takes me a while to get home, get a shower or whatever, I notice just a little bit of body odor or something, but it's drastically different than before, for sure. So yeah, there's something to it, and I'm only speculating about the influence of Staphylococcus hominis, but I just was doing some basic research, and I thought, well, shit, maybe it is, and maybe people are less likely to get staph infections if they're on a carnivore diet because the bacteria is not doing as well. I mean, we could only kind of extrapolate that from a less odor. We don't know. Maybe the bacteria is proliferating. It just doesn't smell. But
so I'm glad you mentioned clothes. So you guys might not want to hear this, but I rewear my clothes at least right about 5 times. So I'll take it off and I'll hang it in the closet, rewear it at least 5 times before I wash it again. No smell. Even after that 5th time, I just do it at a point where I just find that crazy. And we're talking about pants and shirts. So before, my pants would stink even after one wear. I had to wash it. So the difference is not in my mind. It really isn't. I'm not making this stuff up. It's just crazy. And I mean,
you ran it past the wife, I take it?
Yeah, she knows. Actually, she's encouraging it. She's like, oh, good. I don't have to wash as much clothes. I'm like, great. I love it. So, the way she sees it, she doesn't have to waste all that water, because we're kind of the environmental kind of people too.
Sure.
So, another reason to go cold shower, by the way. She doesn't have to wash as many clothes, and she rarely has to wash too many. And I always hate not having clothes available anyway, so this is the best way to do it.
Well, that would make for an interesting experiment for sure. If anybody else wants to try it, I might try that. Take a shirt, wear it, maybe just like an undershirt, wear it a few times and hang it up.
Yeah, don't be so self-conscious. Come on, just do it. Your girlfriend will tell you. Your girlfriend will tell you, I'm sure.
Yeah, she will probably if she ever comes home. She's been gone a while. So.
Oh, well, Justin will tell you, right, Justin?
All kinds of things could be smelling bad around here, and I wouldn't know. So,
hey, Tom, what kind of deodorant you use?
I use that Mitchum, the hardcore skip-a-day stuff.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, I use a mineral deodorant stick. It's called Crystal.
I know that one. My wife was wearing it.
It lasts forever. It's really cheap.
Really?
And it's probably the purest kind of deodorant you can use. It's not an
antiperspirant.
It's not an antiperspirant, right? It's a deodorant, and it doesn't have that aluminum chlorohydrate stuff in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
interesting.
okay.
Maybe I'll try that. What'd you say,
So Raymond, I'm scared to ask about your underwear. You can
no.
deny.
There we go. That's good. I like that. That's right.
Turns them inside out.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So for underwear, I do change that every day. Now, when I was at the cruise, though, I did not. I brought with me 3 pairs of underwear, and that was a 7-day cruise. No problems.
And they wonder why they have these outbreaks on cruise ships.
Right? That's right. Boy, I guess I'm probably really making it bad on myself, huh?
Well, you could be coronavirus patient 0 for all we know.
There you go. That's it.
If you want to be a pure carnivore, you got to go nudist colony.
Yeah.
That's it.
thing.
That's
Can
the
we
next
wear a
step.
loincloth?
That's the next step.
No clothes,
That's right.
man.
No clothes.
Not even
That's right.
a
That's
buffalo
right.
hide loincloth. And that's fair, right? Especially if you shot it and ate it. I'm just
There you
saying.
Yeah.
Do you imagine trying to tan a hide, just waiting for that hide to be ready so you can finally have some clothes? Just gonna walk around naked till the hide's ready.
Oh, since we're on the subject of underwear and kind of bad subjects, I remember when I was my sad eating days. Not that you guys wanted to hear this, but
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I thought so. So I used to take a dump so much. So it was like 3 times a day, right? Big logs.
Yikes.
And I tell you, I could not wipe all of it off every single time. So I used to have these streaks in my underwear. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean,
Yeah, you gotta
my
use
gosh.
toilet paper, man, not your
yeah,
fingers.
you know, I would even dig in with the toilet paper. That's how bad it was. And I used to have hemorrhoids, so that was uncomfortable to do that. Nowadays, I wipe and I'm like, man, there's nothing on the paper. It's a crazy difference. Crazy difference.
Well, you're not
So-
pooping logs either, right?
Well, yeah, no. I mean, my poops are so small, I barely realize it. Yeah, I was pooping logs.
Wow.
So this video should go online.
Wow. It might be the most popular one we ever did, too. I don't know. We'll sleep on it for sure.
Yeah, I'll make sure my wife does not watch this.
Now Raymond's got the 3 shells like Demolition Man.
Emily, this is why you can't skip a skip.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
right.
Emily. Hopefully this will Emily has to watch this because it'll put a smile on her face. But so did anybody else notice any difference in breath? Like breath odor, mouth odor, anything like that?
I've been single for a while, so I haven't. I don't. Maybe that's it. Maybe I just, I have the problem that SpongeBob had. He was just smelly and he thought he was ugly. So yeah.
So
We'll have to see.
my breath is only better when I'm not fasted for a long time. When I do fast, that's when my breath gets a little bit where my wife's like, hey, go brush your teeth. So that means in the mornings, after a long fast. But typically after I eat, for some reason, it kind of, I think it goes away. I try to do this breath smell.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still there. I do get bad breath. But I'm not sure if it's due to the fast or the carnivore or whatnot. So, but it's much better than before. Oh my gosh, but before was, don't get close to me.
And
I
has
have
every
to brush 2 or 3 times a day. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, did anybody notice their teeth are a lot cleaner?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
100%. Even
I
wider.
I definitely
Whiter,
there's a difference
yes.
in teeth, whiter, but I do brush with activated charcoal about once a week.
Really?
I'll buy a vitamin, container of activated charcoal, and I'll break up the capsule, throw that on my toothbrush, and scrub up my teeth really well. It cleans them up really well.
Really?
Yeah.
So is it the abrasive action or is it like absorbing something?
I
Or
think it's a combination of both.
Huh.
Yeah.
I did not know people did that.
Yeah.
Of course, Justin and I scrubbed our teeth with some dark ass ribs tonight. I can't get the black out of my mustache. That's my fingernails.
Lipstick.
Oh, that's the part I'm missing.
Oh,
It's
man.
charcoal and bone. That's what it is.
Yeah, I ate some bone too. I must have whacked into the bone with a knife or something because I had bone splinters in my mouth I was chewing up. Yeah, so I know
I was going to say
guys,
with the
go
with
ahead.
the teeth. Sorry, Tom. With the teeth, when I would brush my teeth all the time, I would get bleeding. My gums would always bleed. I had like a chronic bleeding gum problem for years, forever.
Really?
And that's definitely gone. And back to the burping and farting. I think I'm at 1 burp and 1 fart a day. I think that's pretty much, if that, And
Mhm.
before hiccups, I don't know if anyone
Hiccups,
else
yeah.
had issues with hiccups. I had like a
Forgot about
chronic
that.
hiccup
Mhm.
where I remember like years ago, I straight up hiccup for like 2 years straight. Like they were constant and chronic. But yeah, I don't really have hiccups anymore. Hardly ever burp or fart. You know, it's pretty great. I forget, you know, like Raymond says, like you kind of get to enjoy that. Like it's weird, all these little weird things that you think are gross, you finally get to kind of enjoy them again, like when you're a kid or something like that.
Yeah. When you first discovered that you could fart.
The rebirth of being disgusting. Very nice. Enjoying it.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I gotta say I didn't think about burping that much, but I used to burp a lot more too, and it's like rare. I think I can go an entire day without burping. In fact, it seems like the only time I burp is if I drink carbonated water, which I'm drinking right now, which does happen, you know, sometimes, but not even that much with that. So, and I think I've had it happen with certain spices too, which came up earlier. So
I can't remember the last time I burped. That's how bad it is. I mean, literally. And the last time I hiccuped. Oh, wait. No, I'll take that back. I think I had a hiccup a month ago because I remembered it because I thought it was so unusual.
Yeah, I don't remember hiccuping for a long time. That's interesting because they can hurt, you know, when you get them and you can't get rid of them and you're just like tortured by them. Well, let me ask you guys, I mean, what other challenges do you guys frequently hear about, or what did you experience when, you know, as far as getting on the carnivore diet?
For me, the social challenges were the most challenges. But when I first got on, that was the first thing I got hit with. It's the social challenges. You know, I was so excited about looking at all this information, Jordan Peterson, Michaela, and all that, and I tried to share it with people. And they were just like, oh, no, you know, making some kind of excuse. Oh, maybe it worked for them, but don't do it. It's going to kill you, you know. I was like, but look at all these evidence. I'm trying to point it to them. I'm like, you know, there's no, they keep on saying there's no scientific process that says this. And I'm like, okay, well, I can show you some, and I did, and they refused to look at it. So I'm like, all right. But yeah, social challenges for sure for me.
Yeah, it's an interesting point.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's being social with family and friends has been a challenge. You know, it's, I mean, especially with family more than anything. Trying to find you know, if you want to go out for a restaurant, finding a restaurant that's, you know, suitable for my needs, of course. You know, but then again, you don't want to take away from I don't want to take away from my wife and son because they still eat this, you know, the standard Australian diet. And it's not fair on them at the same time.
Yeah, I think Sean alluded that a little bit to that today in his meeting where, you know, are we part of a tribe that's kind of, you know, part of a game changer for people's health and overall, or are we part of a cult? You know, is it just, you know, just bringing up the topic to people is like, you know, I mean, even for me, when I first heard about it, I was just like, man, that's crazy. How can you just eat meat? So just getting past that barrier in and of itself is for yourself individually, and we're doing it, right? And to talk about it to other people and then live it in a social setting is a little, you know, it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I kind of got past the point where I really worry about it, and I still get people go, "Oh, are you keto or something?" You know, like that, and I'm like, "Well, sort of," you know. I just let it go at that, you know. So, and if it gets beyond that, I just tell them, look, man, I have to be real careful about what I eat because of arthritis and stuff like that, you know, and I leave it at that. And that's all I really have to say. And if I get somebody who's interested, you know, like that Joe Rogan thing kind of blew things up, and I was getting texts from people who are like, oh, Joe said it was awesome for his month of carnivore, you know, maybe I should give it a try for a month. You know, it's just like, I hadn't even watched Joe's comment yet, and I was getting texts from people, and then of course Sean put out that video where he was talking about it, so I just forwarded that to people. And you know, I like to remind people that, you know, people aren't always ready to hear the message, but sometimes you just gently plant the seed, and then the right time comes, or the right information comes to them, or maybe all those things like, you know, not eating bread or not eating grain or whatever, it doesn't seem so alien at some point, and then they kind of revisit your suggestion, you know. That kind of seems to be the way that a lot of people change their mind.
Yeah, in the beginning for me with the social aspect, I think was a huge challenge for me too. And I would just tell people I was keto, but then I ran into this situation where I was at this group, at this event, and this chick had made keto cookies, and everyone was like, "Oh, Justin, you can eat them because they're keto. They're made with like this sugar and stuff." So like I ate them, but I was like, "Oh man, that's the problem with like telling people you're keto when you're a carnivore, because there's all these like, you know, almond flour treats and all this kind of stuff." And then you got put yourself in a bind, be like, "Hey, are you lying?" And I'm like, "No, it's just it's easier to tell people keto than carnivore, especially, you know, about a year ago, because no one hardly, you know, some people know what keto is, but they don't know what carnivore is for sure." And that leap of, okay, no vegetables, no nuts, no fruit, no kind of flour of any kind, is just, you know, that's a bit hard for them to swallow. They're like, you know, "What do we do for your birthday?" Like, you know, birthdays. And luckily I had a friend whose family makes this like special tri-tip, and so they made me like a big tri-tip like meat cake for my birthday, so that was cool. Yeah,
that's cool.
So, you know, it just depends on, you know, surround yourself with people that are going to be supportive of what you eat, you know, at least certainly not antagonize you or try to get you to, you know, not eat what's healthy for you. You know, if you're feeling good on carnivore, you know, find people that'll support you. And that's what's so great about MeatRx and the meetings, is that for most of the day there's a meeting, someone you can talk to over these concerns, and be social, you know. So like, you know, you can have the tablet while you're eating your dinner. Joe, I saw you eating, Joe Zumbo, I saw you eating at the beginning of this.
It's still here.
It's still there. There you go.
It's still there.
Oh,
It's on the desk
sauce
now.
on there. It's on the desk now.
It's nicely rested now.
Yeah, we know you got to leave early, and we know you got a steak to eat,
Yeah.
so don't hold back on our account, man.
That's right.
We're used to watching people eat.
All right, cool. Then I'll better eat this steak then. This beautiful ribeye.
It looks good.
So another idea that we've been floating around was coming up with a carnivore theory. Raymond had some pretty elegant sort of ideas and concepts as to what it might involve. So that's something we're going to be evolving over time. So we're going to we're just based on our observations, we're going to speculate a little bit about what's going on in the diet, why it has the effects that it has on people. So did anybody have their 2 cents or their $2 worth they wanted to put in now?
Well, you can't deny I'm sorry, Raymond. You can't deny the body composition changes. I mean, that's got to be number one on the top of the list, whether it's weight loss or percent body fat or muscle gain. You know, in the 3 months that I've been tracking all of this, it's just been amazing. And I think that's a common experience for most carnivores.
I think this is going to be a paradigm shift, just like what Dr. Baker said about in the back of his book, being a paradigm shift. And I totally agree with him. This will rewrite the way medical textbooks, probably in the next couple of lifetimes, will rewrite the textbooks that are out now.
I think the regenerative agriculture is a big part of this. I don't think you can split the two. When you talk about carnivore and you add to that equation regenerative agriculture, I used to live in central Illinois, and all I saw was corn and soybeans, GMO corn, GMO soybeans. And I've often driven down through those fields on the interstate thinking, what would it be like, you know, 200 years ago, you know, when this was wild prairie? And imagine what it would be like if it was regenerative agriculture. It would be such an amazing benefit to the natural landscape for people and animals across the board. I mean, it's just a fantastic contribution to changing the way the world is.
So there's a theory out there, now that you have that buffalo back there, that the Indians purposely created this plain on purpose. So they could have buffaloes roaming. That was their food. And that's what they relied on. So they said that when the buffaloes migrated, they would migrate for 3 days, where it's like that all you see is a sea of blackness.
3 days of buffalo passing by.
Yeah. Which is unreal. But that says how ingenious they were. They just let the buffaloes do what the buffaloes did and hunted them as they needed. That was their food supply. So I mean, there's no proof to say that they did that on purpose, but how is it possible that they have such great planes like that to do that?
Yeah, I take the ancestral standpoint on this because, you know, I like to follow all the archaeology and stuff like that. And so up to 14,000 years ago, there were mammoths and mastodons, three-toed sloths, and woolly rhinos all over the planet. And we quite clearly hunted and ate them with ease because a lot of those large mammals were not afraid of us. And then probably about that time, because of an impact in the Greenland ice sheet, the weather changed and large amounts of those megafaunas died off. And then our diet shifted to slightly smaller, faster animals like bison, oryx, you know, stuff like that, deer, you know, whatever we could hunt. And that's when our development of like atlatls and spears and eventually the bow and arrow and all these other more elaborate traps came along. But I think that is, to me, that's always been at the core of why I think an all meat diet, a red meat diet, a ruminant-based diet is probably the natural diet for Homo sapiens, you know, as Sean puts it, a species-appropriate diet. And I think what Buffalo Joe said about regenerative agriculture is really that point where saving the planet, because I think the natural habitat of prairies and savannas for these large herbivores, maybe we'll see woolly mammoths come back, or at least Columbian mammoths come back someday. I think that's a natural state of the planet, you know, as it was throughout the Pleistocene for the most part, right? And I think that's, you know, the proper diet, meaning the proper balance of ecology. So
well said, Tom.
well, thanks,
Well
Justin.
said. Yeah, for me, carnivore theory, you know, I think it's like we still don't know the exact medical mechanisms as to why we get so healthy, why we end up with so much energy. It's stuff to do with, you know, mitochondria. Is it just that all the nutrients in meat have been understated? Is it, you know, the lack of fiber, you know, like, is it ketones? But that seems to kind of, you know, is it the fasting? You know, we don't know yet. And I don't know. I mean, there's some people that say we'll never know, but I think there's something happening, and maybe there's something different in each of us, you know, that's happening, that's healing us through the meat. And maybe the meat just activates a set of processes in each person that leads to healing, you know, because everyone seems to do carnivore a little bit differently. And that's also very interesting. Everyone thinks it's so restrictive and that we all eat the same, but we actually all do things differently too. It's very interesting. No one does, I haven't heard anyone do carnivore exactly the same day after day after day after day.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody turn ribs black and have them still be edible before. So I've literally never stained my mustache black before either. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, good point, Justin.
Yeah, good point.
All right,
Zumbo.
gentlemen. Or should we let Zumbo go? He's got a chore to do.
Gotta go pick up my son.
And
Okay.
It's almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's Monday afternoon.
Do you have
And
time for
Joe's-
one more thing I'd like to say, and you might want to hear this?
Yeah, go
So, this is the first time in the history of mankind that we can choose to eat something from anywhere in the world. Not only that, we have the means to do it if you have the money. We have the choice of choosing what we want to eat for the first time in human history. What if we could surpass our even prior ancestry because we pick the right food, we change our environment to the point where we could be hopefully more superior even than our ancestors, which I doubt. I mean, these were Cro-Magnon men. They were pretty badass. But what if we could? And why don't we think broadly like that? Instead of imitating them, which would be great, why don't we try to surpass them by using our environment for us? I just want to put that out there as a carnivore theory.
Good point.
Amen.
Yeah,
And I think Justin
using technology to our advantage.
I think
Exactly.
Justin had one quick point to make, and that was Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you. Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday
dear
to
Zippo.
Zimbo. Happy birthday to you.
All right, buddy.
All right, old
But
man.
can I just say, you guys are absolutely amazing, and you know the highlight of my day is to chat with you guys. You know, I always learn something. We always have a great laugh, and it's fantastic. So, thanks for singing happy birthday. Thanks for your friendship. Thanks for everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey,
Yeah,
all the best
Thank you
to
for
you.
sticking
All the
around.
best to you, Zippo.
Laughter's
Yeah.
almost
Thank
as
you very
good
much.
for you as steak.
Hey, go out
Sex.
there and why don't you go out and run 150 miles or something for your birthday?
A bike.
Nah, the weather's all over the place here.
All right.
That's right. All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you.